student written problems and assessing student written problems. This grade 2 classroom has been doing this for a while. This is well into the year. And the teacher has clearly established groups, guided math groups that people can work in. I'm just going to read a couple for you. Brad took 62 rides on a Speedster roller coaster. Arthur took 43 rides on the Flipper ride. How many times did they ride in all? Then the student writes that on this side of the card, and then on the back of the card, they put their strategy. So the strategy here is he adds 62 plus 43 is 105, and then he gets 100 by adding the 60 and the 40, and he gets 5. On the bottom he says, I just love this strategy. And that was learned probably because the kids had access to these place value cards. So if we were assessing that in grade 2, we would basically look at, is the problem clear? Is it appropriate for grade level? And in grade 2, students should be able to add two two-digit numbers, so it's appropriate for grade level. And there are no errors. There are no errors in the solution. So this is clearly an example of a student who's meeting expectations. Kiara, and notice how this is written by Louisa, but she uses a friend's name. Kiara bought 62 hot dogs. Louisa bought 58 hot dogs. How many hot dogs did they have in all? Well, of course, the solution for this would require some regrouping, but it doesn't in this case because she goes 60 plus 50 is 110, and then 8 plus 2 is 10. By the way, if you do this very much in grade 2, you'll be able to add 62 and 58 in your head in grade 3 and for the rest of your life if you get this kind of practice. If you tried to visualize 62 over 58, you can't do that in grade 2. You can't, most adults can't do it for two three-digit numbers. And that's why we had the line it up method, but you have to write it down. So eventually this 68 and 52 would become a mental math problem that most kids could do it. Again, this is clearly a student who's meeting expectations. Chantel writes, Dylan had 52 butterflies, Noah had 51 butterflies. Notice how the students actually change the context here to something they love. So Chantel likes butterflies. And how many in all? Now, this question is much easier, and so it's not minimally meeting expectations, but the sophistication of the numbers is not as difficult as in the last number. So I might make that a 3 if I was giving it on a scale, a 3 minus, but I would have to collect other work from Chantel as well. And then here's a student. There are 9 hats and 2 fell off. How many hats are left? Now this is clearly, there's nothing wrong with the problem, but the issue is that the numbers are are not at grade level for grade 2. So this would be a student who's minimally meeting expectations. Ian had 64 balls, Saren had 47 balls. How many more balls did Ian have than Saren? Now, the interesting thing here is the question is really well written. It's because it involves a regrouping, it would almost be tempting to put it at the top of the meeting expectations expectation for a grade 2 student. Then she makes a very common error. Instead of subtracting the numbers, she adds the numbers. And so this would be minimally meeting, or sometimes I would call it meeting expectations, but I would ask her, I would go see if she could actually subtract this before I made a decision on that. Now we're starting to get some students that are exceeding the expectations here. Bob had 461 pennies, Jim had 324 pennies. How many pennies in all? And Bob uses the strategy of, just connecting the hundreds like this, so 400 and 300. And if you think of that as an adult, if I said 461 plus 324, once you add the 400 and the 300, 71. Now, if you're good at your double-digit addition, 61 and 24 is 85. So this would be a student who's exceeding expectations. By the way, the student, for some reason, erased their work. And one of the things I do encourage students is to not to erase, but to cross out, but not to cross, because in their work you can often find how they've made their errors. Now here's a student that's clearly exceeding expectations. Jordan writes, Maya had 1,452 candies. Jordan himself had 2,585 candies. How many candies did they have in all? Jordan does get the answer, and interesting how he does it. He adds the 3,000 and the 900, and then he adds the 130 and the 7. So he doesn't have to add it in a place value format because he's got number sense, and he gets the correct answer. Now Parker, Dylan writes, Parker had 635 candy canes and Ethan had 7,346 candy canes. How many candy canes did he have in all? And what happens here is that Dylan actually makes an error, but it's a minor error in how he connects the numbers. So that would be a wonderful time to use the place value cards. So we would try to find, I would probably get the place value cards out and I would say, okay, Dylan, we're looking for 7,000. Oh, that'll be on the back of the 3,000. 7,300. And so there's the 300. 46. And I need a 6. And if I can't find a 6, I look on the back of a 4. 7,346 plus 635. And of course, I know some of you were thinking, well, why wouldn't you just show him to line it up? And I'm hoping that I can make the case here that he will learn more from this process. So 70 is on the, 30 is on the back of a 70 and the 5. Because what he's done is he's made a sort of a so now, remember what we do? We break up the number to make the problem simpler. And now this works somewhat like in algebra. You sort of collect the like terms. So you go like that, to put the 40 and the 30, and you say, well, you're just lining them up. So it's 7,970 and 11, 7,981, and he is out for some reason. So now we go back and use this as an opportunity to discuss how he made his error. This shows him how it happens, and this opportunity becomes a way for Dylan to learn just how to be careful when he's making these connections between the numbers. Now, the last thing we have to remember is that now what we do is we go to the class list and we write this in on our class list that we've collected some problem-solving data. Student-written problems are often tell us way more about what a student's number sense is than having him solve a problem. Just solve a problem. The advantage is that the student personalizes the issue by making it about what he or she wants it to be about. They personalize it because they can choose numbers, and they love to choose numbers at or above their level of ability, so they keep challenging themselves, and they sort of get in little competitions with their friends or buddies who are also enjoying this activity.